This might be an unpopular opinion, but I think Exes and Oohs was actually good. Undeniably flawed, but still good. And not to the point where people claimed the show failed because of it. Like, Seeing Stars was okay, but this is what made you give up on the show? And because of that, I'm making this video, to argue against some of these claims about the episode, and the show in general. I won't be defending the pacing and tonal shifts, cause those were bad. And the choice of humor too, though I think it's subjective, and most of these jokes were told by Chaz, so there's that. And I can't ignore them. So I'll just start with number 1. Which shouldn't be weird unless you think all laws are good, because if you do, I'm sorry to tell you this, but no. Laws are not meant to protect you, but rather the interests of the elites who made them. Not to sound like an anarchist, it just makes sense once you think about it. And since it's hell, I know it's not even subtle. And then people think it doesn't make sense that there are criminals and mafia just roaming around and the hell police does not try to stop them. And to that I say, why? Why would they even care if the lower class started killing and stealing from each other? That's not their job. Their job is to protect Mammon's property and punish those who try and steal from him. Like Moxie when he tried to rob a bank with Chaz. If they stole from another gang or something and they still got arrested, then it wouldn't make sense. Otherwise, you need a reality check. The problem is that most people that I saw who complained about this were American, and I find it ironic to say the least. Okay, now to... I don't know, maybe because they moved? I am not making this up, people did wonder about that. And I think he tells people that he is from Wrath because he wants to distance himself from greed and his life there. Moving on to... What? He was. And that kinda was the point. To make him as annoying and obnoxious as possible so that no one would feel bad when he dies. And people still felt bad. So I don't really like when people paint him as objectively bad, when he has a lot of fans. And despite me not liking him, I can see why people do. He's charming. In his own freaky way. Okay, that's enough of Chaz. I'll move on to the next point. And I think it's because it was also a big deal for Stolas to date Blitz because of him being an imp. However, I don't think it's the same for the Deadly Sins because despite being higher in ranking than the Goishas, they seem pretty chill around the lower class. And yes, Ozzy did ridicule Moxie, but it was for singing a love song in his, sex club. And not because he's an imp. I'm sure he would have done the same for anyone else. And B constantly throws parties for hellhounds and is actually a great host. And even Mammon, to his credit, despite exploiting Fizz, didn't seem racist towards anyone. The only people who actually care about class are the Goishas, cause they're assholes. And the reason why it's a big deal that he's dating Fizz is because the King of Lust is in love. No one cares if B is dating Tex because she's not against romance, unlike Ozzy who had a whole song about how he thinks love is stupid. Everyone already knew that him and Fizz were sleeping together, so it's not that he's in love with an imp, it's that he's in love, period. And that means that his reputation and brand is completely ruined now, I guess, but I doubt he cares. Next please! And to that I say no. Because gluttony means excessive eating and not eating for sustenance. So unless you think health citizens can live on only junk food and alcoholic beverages, another ring should take over feeding hell, and it can't be pride because they get exterminated every year. And not greed because we know what happens when we prioritize profits over not starving people from the real world. And not sloth because it's a lot of work. And not lust because, ugh. And that leaves us with envy and wrath. And since I'm assuming envy is either a floating or an underwater city, wrath seems the most reasonable choice because it's basically Texas. There are farms in Texas, right? I'm sure there are. Moving on. Mainly because the moment he stood up to his dad, he was tased and then made to wear a dress, and then was saved by Millie. I don't agree with these takes completely, because I think that his dad shutting him up after he talked back wasn't really unnatural, per se. I mean, he literally slapped him across the room earlier on. The only difference is that he didn't expect it. And I don't think it made it less impactful because he definitely was angry at Maxi by the end. I get the Millie part, however, but I don't think it's bad, and that's just my opinion really. And about the dress, Crimson is homophobic. What did you expect? Which brings me to the next point. If this was lust we're talking about, I would understand the confusion, but since this is greed and the mafia we're talking about, that is actually homophobic in real life, I don't think it's that strange. And yes, I understand that he is a hellborn, but why wouldn't he adopt all of the mafia culture, including the homophobic parts? Also, he didn't kill his son, so it's most likely just him. Or maybe he didn't want to kill his only heir. But I don't think it has to do with the bad world building. And about that, and I agree. However, people tend to forget that Hell of a Bus is a spin-off of a show that hasn't been released yet. And I think the reason why it's bad is because they can't reveal too much and spoil Has-Been. Now, if the world building in Has-Been Hotel is going to be bad, then forget I said anything. Okay, what's next? Well, maybe because Satanism is also a religion? And since this is hell, it makes sense. And this is hell's version of Catholicism, where instead of worshipping God, they worship Satan. And I honestly like this shark priest guy just for the scene where he dipped and flipped everyone off. And yes, I know Lucifer is higher than Satan in hell's hierarchy, and I can't really explain it, but I do have a theory. I think that Satan was the king of hell, but after Lucifer fell, he changed the whole hierarchy and made himself on the top. The Hellborns know that, so they stuck with worshipping Satan like they always did. And yes, I know the kings of hell are also fallen angels, but so was Stolas, and we know he was born in hell, so it can be the same for the sins. As in, God created them to rule over hell, and then Lucifer changed everything when he arrived. And last but not least, and it became a problem after Circus, where it was revealed that Blitz was the one to initiate the sex, and that Stella was terrible before he started cheating on her. And to that I say, what? I mean, I get the Blitz thing, but Stella? Did we watch the same show? Because in Lululand, she was more bothered by Stola sleeping with an imp than him cheating on her, and judging by Via's reaction to their fighting, it's definitely not the first time they did it. Trust me, I would know. It was likely the first time Stolas actually deserved to get yelled at. Not to mention Stella refused to get up to see Via when she called them both. And there's a drawing in Via's room with just her and her father. And she was only concerned about her dad leaving her to be with Blitz and not about her mom. At all. So it shows that Stella is barely there as Via's mother. Also, she called for an assassin to kill Stolas in front of his daughter. Exactly what made people think she was redeemable? And if the complaint is that she's one-dimensional villain, I'm sure no one would have had a problem with that if she was a man. But because she's a woman abusing a man, we need her to be more layered and give her a sad backstory to justify her behavior, as if her being a spoiled rotten royal isn't enough. And she's pretty fun to watch regardless, so I don't see a problem with that. And in Blitz's case, I think people tend to forget one important thing. Blitz could have said no. I mean, really, it's not like he'll die if he didn't have the book, or that it's the only way for him to make a living or something. We know for a fact that he used to kill people right there in hell at some point. He could have just gone back to that, or stolen Asmodean crystal from some succubus. I'm sure that actually has less severe consequences than stealing from a royal that Stolas didn't mention at all to blackmail him, despite him being a terrible person. Not to mention he could have pushed their deal to be more than just one meeting a month. And again, Blitz was not desperate, and he was the one to initiate the sex. And he seems like he's willing to get down and dirty with anyone to get what he wants, like we've seen with Chaz. And I get that people have a problem with the power imbalance, and that's why Stolas looks like he's using Blitz, but So is Blitz, and once again, he's not desperate. And Stolas asking him for sexual favors doesn't make him evil. It makes him horny. And he's been like that up until Ozzy's, except in Harvest Moon Festival. I mean, he was horny, yes, but he also invited Blitz and his workers to have fun. And he was complimenting him the whole time, and he also called him his darling. In public. And he saved his life in Truth Seekers. And we've seen how Blitz sees that Stolas is the one in control and that he wants to be with him, but he's just afraid that he only sees him as a plaything, and I get it. And that's why he thought it was okay to use him to spy on his employees in Aussies. So it's not like he's completely innocent. But then you'll say, why did he stay with Stolas if he didn't need the book so much? Gee, I don't know. Maybe because he likes him, but he doesn't want to admit it because he's too apprehensive to commit in a relationship. And don't get me wrong, I don't think Stolas is completely innocent, just not as bad as people make him out to be. And I mean, yes, he definitely fetishized Blitz for being an imp for a while. And he's also completely unaware of the lower class struggles, and in turn, the reason why Blitz would be reluctant to be with him. And I do hope that Blitz will bring it up at their upcoming meeting. And with that being said, I'm done with the video. And I get it, Bus is a flawed show, and I am biased since I do love the Hell on Demons aesthetic. However, I really don't think it's fair how people paint this show to be the worst thing they've ever seen in their entire lives. Because it's not. And you can see that there's genuine effort and care put into the show. But I don't think it's enough for most people. But oh well, I guess you can please everyone. Anyway, that's all I have to say. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all next time.